Mercury in fish, a true story.
Can you please raise your hand if someone in your family eats fish? It seems most of you do, but you probably won't want to eat certain fish as much when we are done. Even though fish is very important for your diet because of omega-3 fatty acids, low in saturated fats, and more. Most fish that people eat don't have enough high levels of mercury to cause any damage, but some aquatic animals such as sharks, swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish have very high levels of mercury, which can become dangerous at a certain point with methylmercury. A lot of people do not know the problems with eating a lot of fish. An example of someone who did not realize the harm of eating many aquatic animals is Jeremy Piven, a famous actor who ate too much fish and ended up getting extreme mercury poisoning. He used to eat sushi twice a day. He had to quit all his Broadway performances. He had a symptom of fatigue. Mercury poisoning is not a joke. It is extremely dangerous.
We love our fish. That's why Mercury should be stopped.
Mercury poisoning is very dangerous. This is why when women are pregnant, doctors advise them not to eat fish. This is because high levels of mercury can affect the baby in many ways, such as slow development in the brain and body, problems with the nerves and enzyme systems, and much more. Sadly, 60,000 children are born each year for adverse neural development due to exposure of mercury.
Mercury poisoning makes me sad.
Mercury gets into water by surface runoff, factory exhaust, mines, burning coal, and much more. Mercury goes into fish by getting absorbed into the skin and concentrating in the muscle tissues till it builds up more and more. When mercury and bacterium get in contact with each other, it turns into methylmercury, a highly toxic form of organic mercury, which has an attached CH3 atom to the mercury atom. Mercury can also reach us in a different way, which is going up the food chain. Animals that eat fish go up to us and we eat those animals, which still contain the mercury because it never leaves. Mercury is very dangerous to be in a human's water. This is why humans should regularly get tested for mercury. This can be done by contacting local health departments, which will give you a list of state-certified laboratories in the area that can perform the test.
Stop mercury poisoning now.
Right now, to stop this pollution problem, many mercury guidelines and awareness has been passed around. It is being removed from drinking water by certified laboratories and treatment methods, which the steps are coagulation, which is also known as filtration, then granular activated carbon, onto lime softening, and reverse osmosis. Also, the EPA has a regulation of the amount of mercury in water, which is 2 parts per billion, which is just perfect because even if it goes a little bit over that, probably it would still be okay, which the EPA did on purpose. Even though many things are being done to solve the problem of mercury, me and Lexi would probably have alert broadcasts, commercials, and a lot of awareness so people know what the problem is. People should also be required to have an at-home mercury test to test the water monthly, so if anything were to change about the water, it could quickly be fixed. We could also help by having speeches and posters and much more. Me and Lexi could also get awareness to try to stop the use of burning coal. Burning coal is a way to make energy, which is also known as fossil fuels. We could just use solar energy, which is just as efficient, and it saves the environment. Why can't we help America? Our world. We live here, people.
Many people are educated in mercury. Some of these people even go to our school.
Okay, so your wife recently had a baby, correct?
That's correct.
And what was the deal with her and the doctor about fish?
Well, During my wife's pregnancy, she was under the care of a OB-GYN, it's a women's doctor, and the doctor that eventually delivers the baby. And so in the process of my wife's pregnancy, she had many different appointments with the OB-GYN doctor, and the doctor had specifically talked about different things that my wife should and should not be eating. Obviously, not only what you're eating is healthy and important for yourself, but during pregnancy, it's obviously important for the baby that's growing inside of the woman. And the OB-GYN, talked a little bit about the importance of a balanced diet, importance of making sure that she's trying to eat as healthy as possible, but also making sure that she gets a little bit of each type of food group, the grains, the fats, meats, dairy, vegetables, and so forth and so on. But she did talk specifically about fish, which is I think what your question was about. And she talked, actually now it comes back to me, she actually gave her a specific chart that was specific, and it gave the different types of fish that you could eat and the frequency with which you could eat those different types of fish. My wife is not a huge fish lover, so to speak, but she does time to time eat fish generally, and our particular OBGYN doctor had recommended that my wife not eat salmon really more than once a month, even if it was wild caught. And my wife asked her a little bit more about that, and she said it is really due to the level of mercury, not necessarily just only in the fish that have normally been considered to have mercury, but now there's wider concern that's also including fish such as salmon. So as a result, my wife did not eat that much fish during her pregnancy. We normally don't consume that much of the other types of fish that are generally considered to have high levels of mercury, such as fish types that you mentioned before, sharks, tilefish, so forth and so on. Generally, we eat either tilapia or salmon. It's always pretty much that. So that's what we have.
And your daughter, the pediatrician, probably told you stuff about fish because she's young right now. Did he? Can you explain
Well,
that?
I have two daughters. One daughter who is 6 weeks old, and our older daughter who is 2.5. And I'm guessing you're probably talking about our older daughter who's 2.5.
Both actually. Well, oh yeah, because the young one can't eat fish, honestly.
Right.
But usually doctors tell people, like, young children not to eat fish because the same problems can still happen when you get older, such as high elementary school, high school, middle school. You can eat fish as more than how you were younger. Can you explain that with your daughter?
Yeah, that's correct. I think our doctor had recommended for our older daughter Maya, who's now 2.5, for her not to eat fish. But it wasn't really necessarily specifically about the concern of mercury, but it was more on the lines of allergies. There are specific foods that young children are supposed to avoid until a certain age, such as nuts, peanut butter, different foods that are considered to be high allergens, or high likelihood of the kid being allergic to it. So peanut butter, fish, some types of berries, some other types of nuts as well. So that's what was shared with us. But my daughter actually does have fish now that she's 2.5. Pretty much from the time she was about, I'd say, 1.5 years old, maybe 2 years old, and on.
Yes.
Mercury kills a lot more than fish, and not only does it have lingering effects in people who eat fish that are tainted with mercury, there's a lot of small animals out there that are also heavily affected by mercury, birds and woodland creatures, for example. Honestly, it really affects a lot of different parts of our environment, and yeah, I think it's our responsibility to do everything we possibly can do to make sure that mercury doesn't leak into the groundwater system and to rivers, to allow fish to become, what's the word I'm looking for here? For mercury to incorporate itself into fish, and then it just goes right up the food chain. So I think it's our, not only do people eat fish, but people eat things that eat fish, and it's, it's our responsibility to make sure that there is no toxins of any kind, especially mercury, because it's a neurotoxin, right? It prevents us from being able to walk properly and to think properly and all that. So it's our responsibility to do everything we can to make sure that our water is clean and that our wildlife are protected.
Okay, thank you.
Most people don't know anything about mercury, such as average American student John Adorno.
I wish more mercury awareness was around because I don't know anything about Mercury. And I know that this wonderful, smart girl, Cece, taught me about Mercury with this amazing documentary. I now know what harm Mercury could cause to me.
Okay, so how did you like the movie?
I have seen that movie at least 15 times, and I learned so much more every single time I watched it.
Would you recommend it for others?
Definitely. And I heard that it is now being nominated for Sundance Film Festival as Best Picture, Best Documentary, and Best Filmmakers.
I love this documentary.